All right, we are back from open session, or closed session. We're in open session. We are on file number 190921, a joint resolution from the Economic Development and Finance Committee approving a redevelopment plan and non-binding term sheet for the Wausau Center Mall redevelopment project with Wausau Opportunity Zone, Inc. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Neal, second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? Yes, Alder Rasmussen.
Thanks. I just want to take an opportunity to express my thanks to the mayor for negotiating these revised terms. She really worked most of the summer and the fall, actually, to come up with an agreement that's better for our taxpayers, that really mitigates risk and really takes this deal, which is positive to start with, and makes it just that much better and causes some of that money to come back to us. And really appreciate your efforts, Mayor.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to add to that, my appreciation for our partners with WAS for, being flexible and working with you and coming back with, a more favorable, workable term sheet for us. And I think it's really great that they, were able to work with you and work with staff to bring this to us.
Thank you. Alder Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. For me, in looking at the term sheets, it seems very thin, and in my opinion, it's not ready to go forward, and that I would expect a lot more details from WAS about their plans. Thank you.
I guess I will offer a little bit of feedback on that. Right now, you're voting on the term sheet. After this, we'll continue to work with the lawyers that we hired through Quarles and Brady, and also WAS's lawyers, and you'll have another vote on that development agreement after that. Is there anything I've missed? No? Okay. Alder Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do appreciate your efforts in getting money back to the taxpayers, but after going through that closed session meeting, I can sort of see the reasons why. I'm at a mixed road here because my constituents do not support this, but I do support financial feasibility, so I'm torn on this one. Thank you.
Is there anybody without a light that would like to talk? All right. I'm not seeing any more discussion. I think we're ready to vote. Oh, just kidding. Alder Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's hard without the lights. I thought we had a resident earlier this evening speaking in public comment that some of his words and thoughts really resonated as I was sitting in that chair. And as the older person for District 3, I'm very aware of kind of the makeup of different parts of the city that are within my district. And the census tract that the mall redevelopment area resides in, that's Census Tract 1. And I think many of you are familiar with the Census Bureau data on that area from other city efforts, including the riverfront cleanup and so forth. Those stats were listed in EPA documents. But I think it's important to point out just what some of the specific needs and challenges are in that census tract area. So it's a very poor area, one of the poorest in the entire city, as well as one of the most diverse. And something that surprised me as well is apparently based on a percentage of residents with disabilities in town, it's also one of the highest. So you can see that we're dealing with specific needs and challenges of the citizenry who live in and around the mall redevelopment area. And I will say that I am not out of the box an opponent of private-public partnerships, nor am I anti-business. That would be rather surprising. I've done direct marketing for 15 years. But what is important to me, and what the citizen, I think, informed us of earlier that's important, is that we need to make sure that we are identifying and satisfying the needs of our citizens, because we serve them, we don't rule over them. So it's important that we take their input in and we try to act on that as best as possible. And I held a public input session called a listening session in the district a few months ago. And, I was surprised at some of the input I got, because at that session, the large majority of the people there, they were actually pretty fond of much of the redevelopment vision, or at least not averse to a lot of it. But the thing that also was equally noteworthy is that the vast majority opposed any more public funding being attached to this, specifically TIF funding, and this was recorded on public access. So I'm going tonight to act on what I believe is in the best interest of my constituents in that census tract and others, and hope that in the future the participation process is perhaps improved on what we saw this time. And point of order, I don't think making faces is within Robert's rules, but I'll proceed. Also, I think that we need to be more transparent. And I can say this as an individual and the district alderperson. I'm not making a representation for any entity, body, or any government or individual, but I believe that based on publicly available information that was not confidential, that the term sheet approved on September 10th, 2019 by ED and Finance committees that did contain language in terms of property tax reimbursement, which violated the state constitution's uniformity clause. And I think, if we're looking to take positive steps forward, then I think this hopefully opens a dialogue on what's happened historically with property tax reimbursements, and I hope we can look at that and perhaps improve upon it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I'm seeing none. I think we're ready to vote. Thank you.
Peckham?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
No.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky? McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst? Larson?
No.
Ryan?
No.
Motion passes 8-3.
Thank you. I think you're accidentally hitting the space bar. So, in case you were wondering what that beeping was, that was you. Okay. Moving on to file number 970404. It's a joint resolution from the Economic Development Committee, Finance Committee, and Plan Commission. It's a joint resolution approving an amendment to the project plan of Tax Incremental District Number 7, City of Wausau, Wisconsin, to share the increment with Tax Increment District Number 12. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen. Do I have a second? Second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? Yes, Alder Rasmussen.
Just a clarification, because we considered this in ED and Finance both. This, and as we discussed in the committee, in case the public at home missed those meetings, this really only reserves our right to utilize this funding at a future date, should we choose to. But this is not a final approval of, pushing the project forward and all of these things. But it does secure for us the ability to utilize this financing tool should we need it going forward. And so I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comment? All right, I'm seeing none. I think we're ready to vote. Oh, Alder Ryan?
Having been an accountant and taught all about fund accounting and keeping separate funds for separate purposes, to me, with the TIF, I like just keeping it simple and not borrowing or transferring or having one district that's doing well supporting another district. So I will follow my fund accounting of keeping it separate. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion? I'm seeing none. I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney? Wadinsky? Neal?
Aye.
Killian? Martins?
Aye.
Peckham. Rasmussen.
Aye.
Watson. Herbst. Larson. Ryan.
No.
Motion passes 8-3.
Thank you very much. We are moving on to file number 201109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee adopting the 2021 City of Wausau budget and general property tax to support the same. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Herbst. Oh, just kidding. I'm getting really excited about this budget, tell you what. So why don't we go ahead and vote on the file number 190921. That's the resolution approving the grant application for CARES Act funding from the EDA for construction of streets, public infrastructure for the mall redevelopment plan. Do I have a motion? Motion by Neal. Do I have a second? Second by Herbst. Yes, Alder Neal.
Thank you. I just, in the news, I guess it was this week, or this weekend, had heard that Secretary Mnuchin was directing the withdrawal of CARES funding. Is the funding that we're voting on here tonight something that we know is available to us at this point, or has it been removed by Mnuchin?
I'm trying to think if we have somebody here that would know the bits of that. I know that it was given to a regional economic development authority, but it looks like,
I don't know if he was saying to withdraw it or to
I have-
stop forwarding.
I have Brad Sipple, who looked like he was about to say something.
Yeah, I can't comment on whether that funding is one of the fundings that would be withdrawn from that, but the funding is a first come, first served basis, and there's no guarantee that by the time we get the application in, there will still be funding available. And we went into that knowing it, but we wanted to try for it anyway.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments on this? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Ryan.
Aye.
Larson. Herbst. Watson. Rasmussen.
Aye.
McElhaney. Wadinski. Neal.
Aye.
Killian. Martins.
Aye.
Peckham. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're moving on to the budget. That's file number 201109, a resolution from the Finance Committee adopting the 2021 City of Wausau budget and general property tax to support the same. Do I have a motion? Motion by Herbst. Do I have a second? Second by Peckham. Is there any discussion on the budget? We had a public hearing 2 weeks ago. Yes, Alder Larson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions for Mary Ann. Okay,
We might have you go to the podium if that works for you. Thank you.
obviously, it's the money for this WAS tear down is included in the mall, is that correct? And it is about $4.9 million, is that?
4.7, yes. It's in the
4.7.
budget, correct.
Okay. When I ran for office, it was reported that the city debt was about $107 million, and that it took up 21% of our revenue, is that correct?
Well, I can't really respond to those specific statistics.
Well, what I wanted to say is.
I can tell you that we've levied $4,123,000 for debt retirement since probably the early 2000, like 2002. We have not changed our levy for debt retirement
So-
during that time period.
So then what is the projected debt for, and for this budget?
So it actually is expected to decline. We went through all of this during the public hearing. We're issuing about 2.6 million for our CIP. When we added the WAS development, we added another 4.7, but we're retiring about 10 million. So debt will go down. And a large part of our debt is on a very short debt retirement schedule because TID 6 and TID 7, of course, are getting ready to be at the end of their expenditure period, and so we've been trying to retire that debt very quickly. The last debt that we issued for TID 6 was a 5-year issue versus a typical 10-year issue, so it is declining in a dramatic fashion.
Okay, but you can't give me any numbers, is that correct?
No, I can go get information on that. I mean, you know, all of our meetings on the budget were telecast. We gave you all budget documents, and so I can pull that up if you'd like me to.
Sure. And I guess, with that said, I guess I really can't support this budget with the mall money included in there, because I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of long-standing Wausau residents, and I'm living on streets that are living in 19th century, and I can't justify keep going, developing, while what that guy read up there, I can't see it, where the citizens in my district are constantly being ignored.
Well, I think that's why cities are involved in economic development, because that does provide new tax base to a community, and new tax base is really the only way that the city can absorb increasing costs. I mean, every year, our costs to do business, provide police service, provide fire service increases, right? Because we have inflation.
Ma'am, these roads have been in bad shape for decades. I mean, there's just no excuse for this continuing neglect to go on. I mean, it sounds, I was talking to somebody today, it's really sad that we as a city, we cannot come up with some kind of balance where we can fix our city streets. I mean, I would love to approve this budget, you know, and I would love to say, but if our citizens were being taken care of, if our businesses were being taken care of, they're not. If I voted for this budget, it would be a slap in the face for every one of my citizens that just want a nice road in front of their house. It's a slap in the face to our public workers who are working in a 60-year-old cave, you know, that need upgrade. And that's where I'm just trying to see why we can't come up with, you know, this stuff just keeps getting pushed off. But whenever redevelopment comes, we just pull money out of the sky. Thank you.
Okay, Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. We have lots to be proud of in this budget. The Finance Committee is actually pretty proud of this budget. First, the 2021 budget ramped up street funding. This is the first budget that I can remember that didn't cut infrastructure projects to make the mill rate stay the same or go down. All of the projects that were proposed by the SISM committee passed the budget, made the cut, and they're all still in. That's something to be proud of, because historically, every year when we were trying to stave off a mill rate increase, the first two things that got cut were parks and streets. And neither one of those does anything for quality of life, and so we avoided that this year. We were able to get the brunt of our CIP work accomplished. We're proud of that. And, you know, we also, at the same time, are rolling out a 7% mill rate decrease to our taxpayers. It doesn't get much better than this, because we're riding a wave of historic growth coming in from the last 4 or 5 years. And that growth is what's allowed us to be able to fund everything we need to do for the taxpayer and provide the services that they need. And it shouldn't be a slap in the face to our employees at DPW, because this budget pays them. And they've asked for a new shop, and in CIP, we're considering that proposal, but it needs to be planned and engineered. That's 2 years out, just in the planning for that. So you can't just snap your fingers and have all these things magically appear. And, you know, we even shifted our infrastructure to make sure that the impact to infrastructure was spread out around the city a little more. We canceled 3 streets in District 1, sorry, Pat, but we canceled 3 streets in District 1 to spread that money around a little more so the rest of the city could see an impact faster. And one of those streets was awful, and it's in District 10. So we did move that around. So what SISM committee was mindful of trying to spread that around and make other neighborhoods feel like they've gotten something this year. So I think this, coming out of the budget workshops this year, I feel better about our municipal budget than I have in a long time. And not that the other ones were bad, but we took special care to make sure that we didn't cut the things that people value. And we're still rolling out a mill rate increase, which is just awesome for us. So I hope everyone supports this budget.
Okay, thank you. Alder Killian, are you nodding at me?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it wasn't a hand, it was a nod, but I'll happily speak. So there were some items in the budget that I had some questions or comments on. I think, we've talked about the videographer situation and so forth, future videography needs. And I think that one thing that may be helpful, rather than looking at these things all together and when they may be apples and oranges at times, would be looking about having a discussion in the very near future on how we properly and sufficiently fund public access, since really historically it has not had adequate funding and it's played such a role. So the reason I think that's related to this budget was the videographer item. So I think that I could be possibly comfortable with that if we were to have a discussion in the future, perhaps keep those discussions separate where public access, we had a dialogue about properly funding public access and their needs. And then the other thing would be, is my understanding correct that it was not necessary to put the mall funding in the budget, that could have been included or voted on at a later date, or am I mistaken? And had we not put it in the budget, it would have been impossible.
Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I guess just to respond about the mall being in the budget, to simplify it, your budget is basically two things. It's half of it's a revenue projection for what you figure you're going to have coming in for money, and the other half is a spending plan. And I think you have to be honest with the public on the front end for what you figure you're going to earn and what you figure you're going to spend. And knowing on the front end that we're interested in participating in the WAS project and that we may fund that in 2021, we have got to, on the front end, include that in our projections so people know the real picture of what this looks like. And you don't come along in the 11th hour in, April or May and then decide that we're going to vote on it separately when we knew about it all along in 2020 and we weren't upfront about it. So including it in the budget makes sense because it's a project that we're planning to participate in. We just voted to move forward changes that would facilitate, at least the forward movement of a development agreement. So it needs to stay in the budget and it needs to be in front of our taxpayers so they have a complete picture of what we're looking at in terms of revenue and expense.
And I guess, can I just add that at one of the budget workshops, I think that the committee did actually vote to include it.
Oh, no, and I'm not challenging that in any way. It was, I think, back to the crux of my question, although I find Alder Rasmussen's commentary very interesting, that the question really was simply, did this have to be included in the budget, or could it have been voted on at a later date?
I guess anything is possible. I mean, it's up to the will of the body, and the finance committee and this body gets to decide what's in the budget.
Yes, is there ever any voting difference in what is required if we were to include it in the budget versus at a later date?
I guess I'm not understanding your question.
Sure. Is a simple majority still the same if we were to vote to fund that at a later date, or would it take something more than that?
I'm looking at my...
You could improve the budget with a simple majority. If you're going to do what's the word I'm looking for? An amendment, that takes 2/3, does it not, Mary Ann? Yeah, so.
See, that's what I don't know all the terminology
Yep.
as a newbie, but thank you. I think some of the budget's really solid, but given that it's included the mall, and I do not support that project, I'll be voting against this. Thank you.
Alder Watson.
So just, I guess, a clarification, a question. Just including the mall potential project in the budget doesn't commit us to doing the mall project. It's just sort of saying, this is the hypothetical. If later on next year we do approve that, then we have that cushion in there. We already know what it's going to set us back, right?
Thank you. Alder Ryan.
I didn't think anyone responded to Tom's question about the videographer. It was discussed in the finance, and that we're expecting, because of the COVID, that there could be a few $100,000 left over because of all the different events that were canceled, and we didn't have to use all that extra manpower, that we plan on bringing it up again early in next year's budget.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any further questions or comments? Yes, Alder Wodinski. Yes, take your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been sitting here quietly listening and listening to all the great comments, and they all are great. It's all good discussion. The mall seems to come up a lot, and the mall's in the budget. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be spent on the mall. However, I did hear something said about, because of the wave of redevelopment, this budget is a good budget. And I believe that wave of redevelopment started about 35 years ago when the mall was constructed under great, what's the word I'm looking for? Resistance by the community. But it turned out to be something good and something that redeveloped much of the downtown in excess of the mall itself. And I look at the mall redevelopment that we're talking about today as something for the future. For me, when I get older, for my children and grandchildren who are in the community. And I look at this as money. This is all about the money. Do I want to give you a few bucks now, or do I want to get a few $100 later? I think, personally, if our mall had never been built, our downtown would not be what it is today. And my personal taxes would be higher if I wanted to keep the services I have in this community. So as a resident and as an alderperson, I feel it's my duty, with the good and the bad that's going to come with it, that this project needs to go forward. I may change my mind in the future once we have more discussions, once more things come out, but this budget should pass today as is, because it's a good budget for the community. It's one of the best we've had in a long time. And what the city needs to grow and support this lifestyle that we have is development and redevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Wodinski. Is there any further discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney? Wodinski? Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
No.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst?
Aye.
Larson?
No.
Ryan?
No.
Motion passes 8-3.
Thank you very much, everybody. You have your 2021 budget. My chest pain is already going away, so thank you, everyone. All right, we are moving on to file number 201109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing the modification of fees to the City of Wausau fees and licenses schedule adopted pursuant to the Wausau Municipal Code 3.40.010A, and it's part of the 2021 Comprehensive Fee Schedule. Do I have a motion? Looks like a motion from Watson. I would take a second from Peckham. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Ryan?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst? Watson? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Peckham? Martins?
Aye.
Killian? Neal?
Aye.
Wodinski? McElhaney? Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Next item is file number 041006. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee approving the 2021 operating plan for Business Improvement District, bid number 1. Do I have a motion? Motion by Martins. Do I have a second? Second by Watson. Is there any discussion here? Alder Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I had heard in the last couple of months from one of the business owners on the near west side, that's more in Tom's district, but in my neighborhood, that they are very unhappy with how little interaction and communication there has been, and that Blake has not been seen at meetings there in over a year. So this one business owner was questioning whether it was possible to pull out. And so I will be voting no.
All right. Is there any further discussion here? Okay, I'm not seeing any.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian? Aye. Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski? McElhaney? Ryan?
No.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Watson? Aye. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Motion passes 10 to 1.
All right, thank you very much. We're moving on to file number 200505. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee approving the amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Program Action Plan, adding the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act funding Round 3 and accepting Round 2 of CARES funding from the state of Wisconsin. Do I have a motion? Motion by Neal, second by Larson. Is there any discussion here? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
McElhaney? Aye. Wadinski? Aye. Neal?
Aye.
Killian? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Aye. Motion passes 11 to 0.
Thank you. We're moving on to the suspension of the rules. That's Rule 6B filing. This does require a 2/3 vote. Do I have a motion? Motion by Killian, second by Peckham. Is there any discussion? Nope. We're going to vote on this one.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Aye. Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian? Aye. Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski? McElhaney? Motion passes 11 to 0.
Thank you very much. We are moving on to file number 201106. It's a resolution approving waiver of statutory lawyer-client privilege as it relates to response to a March 20, 2020 open records request of Tammy Levitt-Jones regarding the Wausau Opportunity Zone, Inc. Do I have a motion? Motion by Killian. Is there a second? Second by Larson. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote. Oh, we have a discussion. Alder Larson.
Pardon me, and thank you, Madam Chair, but would you clarify the vote on this? If we vote yes, then
You're waiving
we're waiving?
the privilege.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? No. Martins?
No.
Killian?
Yes.
Neal?
No.
Wadinski? No. McElhaney? No. Rasmussen?
No.
Watson? No. Herbst?
No.
Larson?
Yes?
Ryan?
No.
Motion fails 2 to 9.
Okay, thank you very much. We are moving on now to file number 191109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing a 2020 budget modification for Wausau Area Access Media to upgrade the playback system. I see a motion from Watson, a second from Martins. Is there any discussion? Yes, Alder Martins.
Okay. I just want to give a little bit of clarification. We talked about this on finance, and actually it's a really good deal. Part of this is the public access will be discontinuing their services, their media hosting services through Vibit. So this will become revenue neutral. But one of the things to consider is that it will also, in the long run, allow the public access to host their own media servers so that they can control the replay of on-demand media instead of, well, they'll still continue to upload to YouTube, but when you put your content on YouTube, you know, it's not your content, it's their content. They can do what they want. They can shut it down if they choose. They could go out of business. With the city having their own media server, then we have control over the content and how it's distributed. So it's a good deal for public access, for accessibility.
Great, thank you. Yes, Alder Peckham.
I wonder if Alder Martin's comment indicates that we're going with option 2 on this then, rather than option 1?
That was, that was the recommendation at Finance.
Very good. All for it.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Killian? Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski? McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Last item on our agenda is public comment and suggestions. I'm not seeing anyone here for public comment or suggestions. So I guess I would take that final motion. Okay, we got a motion by Watson, second by Wadinski. I don't require a vote on this, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.